Open-eyed listeners have heard me talk about this extraordinary brother before. Okay. And the brother I'm talking about is Eugene Jacques Bullard. Yes, I'm an admirer. Now, one of my favorite movies, and some of you might find this surprising, and some of you that know me probably won't, okay, is Casablanca. And one of the things that I noticed in Casablanca are the similarities between the character played by Humphrey Bogart, Rick Blaine, and Eugene Jacques Bullard. I'll tell you about when real life outwrites Hollywood. Now, Rick Blaine, the character Humphrey Bogart played in Casablanca, which came out in 1942, has become one of the most iconic figures in American cinema. The cynical expatriate, the nightclub owner in occupied territory, the war-weary idealist, pretending not to care until history demands he choose a side. What most people don't realize is this. Eugene Jacques Bullard lived that story for real. He lived it with far higher stakes, fewer safety nets, and no closing credits. The expatriate who left America behind. Rick Blaine leaves the United States disillusioned, carrying emotional scars from political betrayal and lost causes. He settles in Casablanca insisting, I stick my neck out for nobody. Eugene Bullard leaves America because it is actively trying to break his neck. Jim Crow, racial terror, and the violent policing of black ambition push him out of Georgia and into Europe. France becomes the place where his humanity is recognized. Rick leaves out of bitterness. Bullard leaves out of survival. The nightclub is a neutral ground. Rick owns Rick's Cafe Americain, a place where Nazis and refugees, spies and resistant figures drink under the same roof. It's presented as morally neutral until it isn't. Bullard owns L'Escadrille, a jazz club in Paris that becomes a gathering spot for German officers during the Nazi occupation. That was no movie. Like Rick, Bullard plays the part of the detached host, smiling, listening, letting the enemy feel comfortable. But just like Rick's Cafe, Bullard's club is a facade. Behind the bar, Bullard is listening. Behind the piano, he's remembering. Behind the smile, he's resisting. The reluctant hero who is never neutral. Rick famously claims neutrality, but when the moment comes, he chooses resistance. Helping Victor Laszlo escape, sacrificing love for principle, and recommitting himself to the fight against fascism. Bullard never pretended neutrality. He had already fought fascism in World War I. In World War II, he became a real intelligence asset, passing information to the Free French resistance, knowing full well that discovery would mean torture or execution. Rick risked heartbreak. Bullard risked death. War, disillusionment, and moral clarity. Rick is a veteran of lost causes. Spain, Ethiopia, his idealism bruised but not dead. His art is about rediscovering moral clarity. Bullard doesn't need rediscovery. His clarity is forged early. He knows exactly who the enemy is because he fought them before with bullets, with wings, and with wounds that never healed. Rick finds his courage again. Bullard never lost it. the ending Hollywood wooden ship. Casablanca ends with a legendary line and the promise of the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Rick walks into the fog with honor restored. But Lard's ending is harsher and more American. After 2 years, after 2 wars, after espionage, after medals from France, Eugene Jacques Bullard returns to the United States and is reduced to working as an elevator operator. No praise, no recognition, no gratitude. Rick becomes immortal on film. Bullard becomes invisible in life. Let me tell you about the uncomfortable truth. In Casablanca, where honest history, Rick Blaine would have been black and the studio would never have made the movie. Bullard wasn't allowed to be a myth in America because myths require permission, and America has always been reluctant to grant black men heroic narratives unless they are safely distanced, symbolic, or sanitized. France gave Bullard statues, medals, and memory. America gave him silence. Rick Blaine is a beautifully written fantasy of moral courage under occupation. Eugene Jacques Bullard is the truth that fantasy borrowed from and erased. One is celebrated as cinematic legend. The other is buried as historical footnote. And that difference tells you everything you need to know about who America chooses to remember and who it chooses to forget. Eugene Jacques Bullard. Say his name. It's the open eye.